Rightmove say the average house sale now takes 7 months from start to finish, with many taking well over a year. If you are dreading that or already in the middle of it, then this video is for you. I've spent the last 15 years helping homeowners sell more quickly. So in this video, we're going to rank every selling method. That's house buying companies, traditional auction, modern auction, estate agents, and online agents. I'll show you how fast each one is, the downside with each, and help you decide which is actually right for you. So the fastest way to sell a house in 2026 is selling directly to a genuine house buying company. These are sometimes called cash house buyers, we buy any house companies, quick house sale companies, and so on. So how fast? Well, in most cases, you're looking at about a month. Some will say 7 days. Now, can that happen? Yes. Will it happen? Probably not. These companies are actually pretty careful, sensible buyers, and so they still want to do their due diligence when they buy properties and have a surveyor visit and so on, and these things take time. But if you really want your house sale done and dusted within a month, the genuine ones can probably do it in most cases. So it is really quick. Now, if there were no downsides with this, the video would be over because we'd all just sell to a company. Obviously, there are downsides here. So what is the catch? Well, it is the cost. Now, these companies don't charge fees, and they'll even cover your legal costs, but don't let that fool you. The catch is they pay very low prices for your home, and the genuine ones only pay about 80% of your home's value. It's a huge hit to take, and it means they are by far the most expensive way to sell your home. Why do they pay so little? Well, it turns out buying houses is really expensive and really risky. And so for them to cover their costs and make a profit, that's what they've got to pay. That's why there's no genuine companies that can just come along and pay way more than that. And because of this huge compromise, this is not right for most people. And so this is a very niche service. There's no official numbers on how many people sell this way because all the companies are private and the transactions happen behind closed doors. But having worked in and around this industry for 15 years and knowing a lot of the companies involved, I personally think only about 1 in 500 sales occur this way. So only about 10,000 a year nationwide, 0.2% of all sellers. Pros and cons. The pros speak for themselves. It's fast, it's easy. In theory, it's a guaranteed sale as well. And the companies because the company's buying directly, so no chain and these other things that make selling a house so stressful. The obvious con is price. You're paying a fortune for the speed and convenience. But price aside, there are a couple of other major downsides as well. The first is most people don't want to lose 20% of their home's value. So people who do use these services quite often are being forced to by circumstances. And whenever there's this sort of pressure or vulnerability and there's this much money at stake, you will get sharks. And so this is a very cutthroat industry. Now, you might expect regulation would protect you, but this industry is unregulated. Property Ombudsman and the National Association of Property Buyers even say in their own words that they aren't regulators and they can't take legal action or impose fines or anything, which is why it became and has remained such a dangerous industry. Now, because of that, you might want to rely on reviews instead to find the best companies. Problem is, a lot of these companies game their reviews, making them unreliable. I've written about this elsewhere and exposed some of the tactics they use. And so it's this really kind of grubby, scammy industry. I can help you navigate it if you really want to go ahead and explore getting an offer from these companies. And I'll talk about how in a second. But the other downside, which I find kind of somewhat humorous and worth noting, these companies all say, we buy any house. The reality I've seen, they won't. If you've got a quirky or rural or expensive property, don't be surprised if you can't get a genuine offer from a company. And the final downside is there's still some uncertainty throughout the process. Even if they do offer, they may get a survey and pull out or reduce their offer and still use. So in reality, you still live with a decent amount of uncertainty throughout the process. So when should you use one? Well, honestly, if getting a fast, easy sale is way more important to you than the price you sell for, then this could make sense. If that is the case, here is what you do. We've built a free quiz on our website. It takes about 60 seconds and it will tell you if a house buying company seems like a good fit for you. If it does, you can then connect directly with the company I recommend, one I know and trust and have worked with for over 10 years, so you can avoid all the nonsense that goes on in the industry. They'll make you an offer in the next few days, and if you accept, they will buy from you and it's done. But but please, this is not right for most people, and you will get way less money. And just before we move on as well, one final word of warning here I'd give you: if you are feeling overly emotional about the sale at the moment and it's really stressing you out, then do be really careful, because these companies can give you relief. But once the sale's done and those emotions subside, I know some sellers live with the regret of having sold at such a low price. So just be really careful if you do go ahead and explore. Okay, so that was the fastest way to sell. Hell of a price tag though. So what are your other options? Well, the second fastest way to sell your home is by traditional auction. On average, expect this to take realistically 3 to 4 months to sell. It's longer than most people think. It takes longer because you've got to get legally prepared, basically put everything together that a buyer might want. And you've got to wait for the next auction cycle to start as well. And these things might take 2 to 4 weeks combined. Then the property gets marketed for a month in the run up to auction. So you've got another 4 weeks there. Then a buyer has 1 month, sometimes 2, to complete the sale. So about another 4 or 8 weeks there combined. So that's where the time frames come from. Now, how much does this cost? Well, auction fees are pretty low, not that much more than a normal estate agent in most cases. But the problem is you expect to lose a lot of your home's value at auction. So on average, you expect to lose about 10 to 15% of your property's value. So it's a hefty price tag when you consider that. You lose so much for 2 reasons. So first of all, most people can't buy at auction, or they just don't want to. So you've got way fewer buyers, which obviously means less competition to push up the price. The other thing is the people who are going to the hassle of buying through auction are typically doing so because they want to bargain on something. So they're the people who pay the lowest prices. So all in all, again, this is a very costly way to sell. As a result, auctions still pretty niche. Only about 1 in 40 properties, about 2.5% of all sales, are sold this way. The way I think about auction is not as it being used as a quick sale option though, but rather when it's used as a tool for a very specific purpose. And here's what I mean by that. So if you have a problem property and you want to sell as is, auction could be the best route. Auctions have an audience of professional buyers who want to buy properties they can renovate or extend or fix and add value to it. So I see that as a major benefit of auction. It's an out for home sellers with problem properties who just want to sell as is. It's also faster with more certainty than the traditional route. The big con obviously is the price, like we've talked about, losing 10 to 15%, but there's a couple of other big cons as well. So first, this is not a guaranteed sale. According to EIG, who are the kind of industry standard for auction data, only 70% of properties that went to auction during 2025 sold successfully. But your real chance of success is actually lower. Here's why and kind of what they won't tell you. So we just said 70% of properties that go to auction sell successfully. The thing is, most properties, if most auction houses, if they know a property won't sell on auction day, maybe because it's not had much interest or they know there won't be bids, they just don't send it to auction. They withdraw it beforehand, and so it hides a lot of the failures, meaning the real number is even lower in reality. Remember as well, auctions happen, this is the other kind of downside, auctions happen to relatively fast and fixed time frames. And so if you're selling your home to buy another, if you're in a chain, it can be really difficult to fit in with your plans. For it to work, you really need to be chain free, either the property empty already and you're living elsewhere, or you have some rental property ready to move into or moving in with family or something like that. It's really difficult otherwise. So when should you use auction? Well, in my opinion, it's if your property's got serious problems and you'd prefer to sell as is rather than fix them. And when I say serious problems, I mean stuff like structural issues, serious legal complications, scary stuff that makes your home unmortgageable. If it's just a case that it's a big renovation job, in most cases, you don't need auction and you can still sell for more through the estate agents, which is something we'll come on to later. So that is traditional auction. Next, we have the modern method of auction. Now, this sounds like the better, newer, more modern way to sell, but really, that is just marketing speak. And to be honest, that's one of the only things modern auction has going for it. So let me take 60 seconds to explain why. So modern auction was meant to be the best of both worlds. The speed and certainty of auction, but with the high selling prices you get through an estate agent. Now, I'm not going to do the full breakdown here. It's for another video. But from what I've seen personally and from speaking with hundreds of sellers who have been through modern auction or come close to it, it seems more like the downsides of auction, and a lot of the downsides of selling through an estate agent as well. That actually seems like what you get now. So uncertainty, low success rate, lower selling prices, delays. And so it kind of feels lose-lose-ish to me. And it kind of makes me wonder, okay, so why would anyone do this? Well, again, from what I'm seeing, it's because people are being misled. The things I'm seeing from people I'm speaking with, these companies are overvaluing properties now to win business, and they're selling the dream and over-promising as if it's a certain sale, and they're saying there's no fees. There are fees. They're really high fees as well. The thing is that the buyer pays them, so it feels like they're free for us as sellers. But in reality, just remember that the buyer's just knocking their bid down by whatever the extra they've got to pay in fees. So ultimately, it's still coming out of our pocket as the sellers. And then on the backside of kind of all of this stuff that they're doing up front, I see tons of price reductions, failed sales, months of trying, and then ending up back where they started. And you know something's kind of going on with Modern Auction, because many of these companies don't publish their success rates. Like, you've got to remember that, you know, for someone thinking about going to Modern Auction, they are looking for speed and certainty and convenience and things. And so some of the best pitch a Modern Auction company could give is just to give the numbers and say, look, we sell 95% of the properties. There's your certainty. It's the best pitch they could give. It speaks volumes, the fact that most of them don't publish their numbers. And from what I hear from people in the industry, many of them are selling way under half the properties that they actually take on. Some of the reviews are horrible as well, and they've built up over time. There's some of the reviews in the industry that actually just scare me when you read them about the outcomes that people got. And just in the end, you've just got way better options. And so we're not going to do the kind of whole comparison thing here where I break it down. But essentially, if you need auction, do traditional auction. And if you don't need auction, then a well-managed sale through the estate agents will be a better option in nearly all cases. It gives you more control and better results. And that is my firm belief based on everything that I've seen over the last, especially couple of years since Modern Auction. Things turned over the last few years a lot for how these were mostly operating. Just so you know as well, you know, I probably sound very biased and not impartial. Just so you know, it actually kind of goes the other way. We can make a lot of money by selling the dream and pushing people to Modern Auction. That's why so many estate agents push it on people. But I would rather be honest with you. And the fact is, given everything I know and all I see, I would not want my own mom to sell by Modern Auction. And so that is what I think. So rant over with that. We can keep going. So if you don't sell by auction, and we don't sell by house buying company, it leaves us selling on the open market, which means with the estate agents. And here we've got two main choices. We can go the traditional high street estate agents, or we can go with online estate agents. Now, online agents only account for about 5% of all sales. It's pretty tiny. So let's talk about that one first. Now, I would love to show you some data showing definitively which is faster and better, online estate agents or high street. The problem is there is no clean data that really exists. Different types of properties are more drawn to one than the other, so direct comparisons don't really work. Most places don't publish data either, and the places that do publish data are usually biased one way or the other and just trying to make their case. And so rather than present some wonky, unreliable data, here is just my take, having spent 15 years selling properties through estate agents on the open market and navigating this awful process. So ultimately, I think online estate agents, your sale will take longer with an online agent. They're less proactive, drumming up interest, so you expect fewer viewings. Fewer viewings mean it will take longer to get an offer. And when you do have a buyer, the agent will be less proactive moving the sale forward. This can make it take weeks longer and make it more likely to fall through as well. Purplebricks are notorious for this. It's like this open secret or a joke within the industry. If anyone's dealing with a chain and there's a purple brick sale somewhere in the chain, all the agents know that's the one most likely to drag on and most likely to fall through. It's a red flag on the whole chain. And all of these things that the agents do ultimately make your sale take longer than it normally would with a high street agent. So why do people still use them? Well, like we said, 19 out of 20 people aren't using online estate agents, but the appeal is that they're cheap. They're a low-cost option, often £1,000, sometimes less. So on the surface, you're saving money because they're taking a smaller slice of the pie. But here's the thing they don't tell you, which I've personally observed and I believe. So I think the pie is smaller when you use an online agent, and so you end up worse off overall. Because I think that when they are proactive, you get worse outcomes, including a lower selling price. That's my personal point of view based on my experience. And just to let you know a kind of ironic thing where I'm kind of coming from with this, over the years I paid over £500,000 in estate agent fees, meaning I have more incentive than anyone to go for the low cost option. I wanted them to work and to win. It would have saved me a fortune in fees. But online agents didn't win. And I don't use online agents because I firmly believe you end up worse off in the long run, both in terms of speed and in terms of the amount of money that you get. So, pros and cons. The pros speak for themselves. It's cheap on paper, but long run, more expensive, I believe. I expect as well it's going to be slower, it's going to be more stressful because you don't have someone steering the ship or helping you through this process. It's just a lower level of service overall. So when should you use them? In my opinion, honestly, never. You're going through the normal house sale process, so you've got all the pitfalls that come with that, but there's no one steering the ship and helping you through it. And you'll save on fees, but you'll never know how much you lost by not having someone actually working on your sale proactively, getting you as much interest as possible and getting the best price for you. So this leaves us with the high street estate agent. Now, speed, the average time to sell, like we said before in the opener, Rightmove say 7 months, over 200 days, but half take even longer than that. And I speak with sellers every week on the market well over a year. And I'll share some thoughts on that in a second. So first of all, cost-wise, fees are more than an online estate agent, but you've got the best chance of selling your home for its highest value in this way. So based on my experience, this is the way to net the highest overall amount for your home, which is why most people sell this way, nearly 95% of sellers. So that's the main pro. And the cons, you know, it's slow, it's uncertain, it's stressful, all the things we hear about. And please don't watch this video and think I'm a huge fan of estate agents because of the stuff I said about some of the other options. I'm not. Estate agents largely are a nightmare. And I say that having dealt with over 1,000 of them during my career at this point. The thing is, they are still the best way in 2026 to net the highest amount for your house. And here is the thing which most people miss. So what I've noticed is people will tend to think there's nothing they can do to speed their house sale up when they go through an estate agent. But there is a lot you can do to speed it up and avoid delays and sell for more money. So for example, for me personally, I said earlier I bought and sold over 100 of my own properties. On average, I sold those in 105 days. So 3.5 months from start to finish. It's twice as fast as the average estate agent sale in the rest of the country. And I didn't sell them just by selling them cheap. On average, we actually sold them for more than an official Rick's valuer said we would. So there is a lot you can do to take control of your sale and get through this process more quickly and even with more money at the end of it. So those are, and I'll tell you about that in a second. So those are the 5 options. Question kind of is, which is best for you? Well, we've laid out a bit of a framework as we've gone through each one, but here is what you can do now. Now, first thing, this is not going to be right for everyone, but for some people, this will actually be the perfect balance of speed and price and convenience. So if you want me to just manage your house sale for you, the same way I managed all of my own, I run a small team here that does that. It's called our accelerated sale process. Here are some things people say about us. You can pause to read if you like. And if you want to learn more, click the first link in the description and you can apply from there. For anything else, if you're interested in those house buying companies or auctions, or if you want to know how to get through the estate agent process faster, click the second link in the description. We'll take you to a short quiz through that. It takes about 60 seconds and we'll match you with the right selling option for you. If it is a house buying company or auction, I can then connect you for free with companies I've personally vetted and trust. If it's not the best option and you need to sell through the estate agents from your quiz results page, you'll get a bunch of free resources to help you sell faster through them. It's all free. I worked really hard to make it as useful as possible for you. So hit one of those 2 links in the description for more help. I really hope this has been useful and I'll see you soon.